Thank you very much. Hello and welcome to Cats and Dogs here on Press TV with me, Len Vidopik. As the world has already learned, the life of Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, came to a peaceful end in his 99th year. By contrast, the nuclear talks between Iran and the West are destined to live on and on and on and on. Even if the late Prince had wanted to observe the end of these talks, there's no guarantee another 99 years would have been enough for him to see their conclusion. Ever heard of P5+1? That's a short name for the countries in the original Iran nuclear talks. The P5 are the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council. That's China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and of course the United States. And the +1 is Germany. But after Trump pulled the US out of the Iran nuclear deal, the talks changed from P5+1 to P4+1. Now it's changed again because the new, well, very old president, no offence, Joe Biden, apparently wants to come back to the deal. So that means we've now got Tehran plus the P4+1+1. This isn't politics, it's algebra. So while Iran and the P4+1 are sitting at the negotiation table in one room in Vienna, the other +1, namely the Yanks, aren't even allowed in the room because they've got into the habit of stepping in and out and in again. I mean, it's the negotiating equivalent of the hokey cokey. Understandably, given these antics and all the broken promises, Iran says the US isn't reliable and Tehran won't negotiate with Washington, at least not directly. That's why Robert Malley, as a special US envoy to Iran, has to follow the talks while sitting on the diplomatic version of the naughty step. The Americans say they should be allowed in the meeting to speed up the talks, but Iran says their presence only speeds up the likely collapse of the talks. So no seat for you guys until you show you can behave like adults, which you'd kind of hope for from the largest atom bomb touting nation on earth.
You're hurting me! What is wrong with you, Derek? I thought we were friends!
My name is Andy!
Your name is Liar because you're telling lies! You know what the odds are? I will never come back here again! There's a good chance of that!
That's a chance we'll have to take!
Okay, if that's how you want to play it!
Okay!
I am disappointed!
God!
Interestingly, American State Department spokesman Ned Price admitted a fair amount of distrust between the United States and Iran. Now, there they go, being naughty again. There is no distrust between America and Iran. There's distrust about America because it's about as consistent as someone who says they hate disco but loves the Bee Gees. Another funny, peculiar part of the story is that the Saudis are reportedly angry for not being invited to Vienna either. Now, someone should tell the Saudis they can't be there because, well, firstly, you don't get to go just because you're rich. And secondly, it would make the talks the P4+1+1+1, which is beginning to sound like a badly branded energy drink. But Riyadh can take heart because the Western side hopes to drag out the talks so long that eventually every country in the world can probably have a go at being there. For now, though, only the Americans are sitting next door in the VIP room. Even if the Saudis do have to watch it all on TV, they'll probably be better informed than they would be if they were next to the Americans trying to listen through the wall. But what happens if all this exclusion pushes the Saudis or the Americans over the edge? How will they try to join the talks then?
Let me come in.
Meanwhile, nothing has distracted the Israeli politicians from their main usual business, demonising the Islamic Republic of Iran as, you guessed it, a threat to global security. Yes, Tel Aviv says that Iran's missile program is in violation of the original deal. They should know, since Israel thinks it's okay to have a load of nuclear warheads without even bothering to sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Even I'd sign that, and the nearest I've got to an atom bomb is my microwave oven. Now, Iran has patiently added the United States has 2 months to join the nuclear deal by first lifting unfair sanctions against Tehran. Let's not hold our breath on this, though. 2 months? When's the last time the US has done anything it doesn't like in less than 2 decades? It took the Americans 4 years to get Trump out of the White House. And still he might return again for a weird sequel called something like P4 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 minus 1. And let's not forget the US has been leaving Afghanistan for 15 years. And they've been in Korea for over 50. 2 months. It'll take President Biden 2 months to figure out the difference between the JCPOA, that's a Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCVD, which is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Just Eat.
What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of George, he's going to find ourselves in a position where if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world. 4 more years of George, he's going to find ourselves in a position where
Iran has set out a pretty clear plan to verify the US lifting of sanctions. But given Biden's habit of drifting, is there a risk of self-contradiction here?
But keep wearing a mask.
Yes.
Wash the hands and socially distance, which I'm not doing.
Does Biden even realize that it was America that walked away? Hey, Mr. Zarif, why don't you folks come back to the nuclear deal? Why did you leave? What? You say Donald Trump left the deal? That must mean Trump's Iranian. Who knew? Tehran has proposed an endgame scheme in the hope that some people alive today might see the final deal. Needless to say, the Americans are no strangers to endgame schemes. They can put an end to any talks like genuine gangsters. I've tried to get a phone conversation about the current talks with any senior officials from the P4 plus 1, but they were all busy. So we called the only man in the whole of Vienna with absolutely nothing to do. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Special US Envoy for Iran, Mr. Robert Malley. Mr. Malley, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us about what you've seen so far in Vienna?
Sure. I've seen some great theaters and a nice river. Tomorrow I'm going to see a castle.
I don't mean the sightseeing. I mean, what have you seen in the nuclear talks?
Not much, to be honest.
Why not?
They won't let me in. And the walls are so thick I can't hear through them, even if I use a glass. Not even from this balcony.
What's that noise? Where are you?
Just next door to the talks.
But I heard a baby making noises.
Yes, it's the daughter of Helga Schmidt, you know, the German diplomat. She is in there, and I offered to look after her child.
And why did you offer to look after her child?
So I could be in here, next door to the talks.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
Oh, I'm optimistic. I'm sure her baby will stop crying in a moment.
I'm not talking about the child. Are you optimistic about the talks?
No, I think I can hear Mr. Araghchi. You know, the Iranian guy speaking? And that's bad for America.
Why?
Because the Iranians don't like that we withdrew from the talks.
Well, why did you withdraw from the nuclear deal then?
Ask Trump.
But you keep blaming the Iranians.
Well, maybe Trump's Iranian.
Really?
It's a theory.
And why can't you just lift the sanctions?
Because it would make us look like we got it wrong in the first place.
And did you get it wrong?
Yes.
So why not just admit it?
I have to change a diaper now.
But can't you just tell me?
Sorry. Potty emergency. Gotta go. Coochie, 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 goo. Coochie, 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 goo.
Baby, That's it for this week. Thanks very much for joining, and do join me again to find out who's in the room to have proper talks on the Iranian deal, and who's out of the room with their ear to the wall, and who's minding the baby. This is Press TV. I'm Lem Dopic, and that was Cats and Dogs.